This episode of ReddX is sponsored by the Jerry Army and Ice Cold Coors Light. Whoa. School of Beards, Chapter 13, Beards, the new batch. Yeah, that's not great. Greetings, ReddX and ReddX industry partners, including Coors Light. Are you drinking yet? You may have noticed that the last tale was a bit different than the previous ones. Honestly, I'm about out of long-form tales, but that is not to say that I am out of tales. I just don't work daily in the beardery anymore, so it's more of a situational thing than a constant thing. That is to say that from here, instead of long-form cohesive tales, we'll be moving on to a numbered vignette format here. Oh, those are perfect. They give me space to talk. This gives me the freedom to share all of the situations that Beetle and I have had with the Beards without a lot of unneeded exposition. I will still try to keep these in the order that they happened, at least to the best of my ability. I did the long cast list in the last chapter. Go check out that video playlist, link in the description, etc, etc. I think that should be good. I don't think we'll ever need another cast list unless this continues into the next school year. And it might. Truth be told, beardery never ends. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get after it. 1. Bus duty. Every year, teachers are given a duty that they have to do either before school, after school, or at lunch. Yeah, give me the at lunch duty, please. Thank you. Last year, I had lunch line duty for half the year, and for some reason managed to escape duty for the second half of the year. This year, I was assigned bus duty on A days. Well, Gabby was assigned to the same duty on B day, and she wanted A days so she could be on duty with her art teacher friend. She noticed Beetle had after-school courtyard duty on B days, and asked if I wanted to switch so that Beetle and I could at least have duty on the same day. Gosh, she really knows how to wheel and deal, don't she? I readily agreed because it was rather inconvenient for us to have opposing after-school duties. I did not realize at that time that switching with Gabby meant that I would have bus duty with Manny Beard. Oh, he's our favorite. He's a puzzle inside a mystery all wrapped in an enigma. So what's bus duty anyways? Well, it's literally what it sounds like. It is my duty to go to the bus area when assigned and monitor the students getting on the buses and ensure that there are no fights. Most days it's literally just standing there and kid watching for about 10 minutes. I don't love bus duty, but I've generally managed to make the best of it. I've come up with 2 games that I play in my head. 1, B&B count. B&B here stands for baby neckbeard. Oh lord. I literally count the number of baby neckbeards I see and silently hope that they come across ReddX before it's too late. OP, bro, I don't think they have the attention span for ReddX. I'd have to make a much more consumable form of content. And 2, Does It 90s, which is a game where I notice a kid's outfit and ask myself how much of it would have actually been something that I would have seen my peers wear in the late 90s or early 2000s. It is actually fascinating to me to see how fashion has come back around. I don't see a lot that would have been out of place in 99 to 2000. I do see some, and then I feel really old. Just like, hey, let's sit down and play a game. This one's called Masochism. So where does Manny Beard fit into all this? Well, he's a big reason that I had to come up with games to occupy myself. I had to do something to look busy and avoid interaction with him. You see, the first day of bus duty, he and I were both trying to find good vantage points to monitor the students, or at least I was.
Where do we stand?
Manny Beard asked me. I looked at him. It's my first day on bus duty too. I have no idea. Probably best to wait until the kids get out here and then we could scope out our best vantage points.
And what do we do?
He asked. I sighed. We stand somewhere and watch the kids and try to make sure no fights break out.
Will there be a lot of fights?
He asked. I'm not sure. There wasn't last year, at least until the end of the year. We'll just have to see how it goes this year.
There were a lot of fights in my old school. Those were rough kids, and they fought all the time.
He said. I nodded. Well, hopefully that isn't the case here.
We had at least one bite a day, and that was a slow day. Most days we had more. It was a rough school.
He continued beyond this, but I tuned that out. I'll be honest here, guys, I had to dig deep to even remember any conversations with Manny Beard. His voice is literally too painful to focus on, so I typically try to tune him out after a couple of sentences. Yeah, because he sounds like the devil. Oh! I know some people don't like the voice mod things, and I promise I won't use it for that lady voice, but people didn't seem to have a problem with the demon voice, so Manny Beard, that's gonna stay. Anyway, so finally I scoped out a good vantage point several feet away from Manny Beard. I turned and walked away without a word and took my new duty location. Manny Beard never left that spot, even when the APs gathered there. Thus, it was otherwise covered. To this day, Manny Beard continues to go to that exact same spot when he shows up for duty, and he doesn't move until someone dismisses him, even if the buses have left. He's a weird guy. Maybe just the slightest bit off, as if we didn't notice that already. Another story, return to ESL. As I said, when I took over graphic design, I would absolutely continue to support ESL and Becky as much as I could. Oh, Becky, that's the one where I used the bad voice. I even gave up some of my planning periods to continue to have ESL meetings with her every other day. This truly was a sacrifice because I didn't just have English and reading to plan for now. I also had Graphic Design 1, Graphic Design 2, Animations 1 and 2, and I had to plan for all of them. And I was unfamiliar with their curriculum, but I gave my word that I would keep supporting ESL, so I made it work. Sometimes there's the thing is like too much help, you know? Sometimes you gotta kick the baby birds out of the nest. These meetings lasted for 2 weeks. Why? Well, because Becky would come to my room and I would ask her about ESL things, and instead of giving me a straight answer, she would go on a long story about some completely unrelated part of her life. Yeah, she's a little off too, isn't she? We would continue to go on and on about it until the bell rang and our meeting was over. I felt like this was a waste of my time, so I started texting her to ask if she needed any support, and if she said no, we didn't meet. Before long, the meetings just stopped and I became far more productive. That's why I said, yeah, fly baby bird, it's fine. You're gonna learn one way or the other. I mean, don't get me wrong, OP says. I suppose this was better than Gabby's gossip meetings, but truly, this felt like gossip about people that I didn't even know, so it didn't feel that different. And either way, it was truly unproductive. And this is why I want to label her a beard, although Beetle still insists that she's not. He says she really is sweet and just chatty. Maybe I should have named her Kathy. So it is written, so it is done. She is now Kathy. I have to wonder if Kathy's out here doing like the exact same thing during class time, right? Okay, we're gonna learn about this, but first, let me tell you all about... another story. This is fine.
This is fine.
For this one, I actually asked Beetle how Manny Beard's classroom management style was compared to Pitbeard's. What classroom management? Beetle replied. He then proceeded to tell me a story which I shall now relay to you. On this particular day, Beetle was standing in the back of the room, waiting for Manny Beard to teach the lesson so Beetle could help the students that he was assigned to help. Manny Beard was standing in front of the room, trying to teach. He was droning on in his monotone voice, and Beetle was wondering how the kids could even comprehend anything he was saying. By this point, Beetle had hearing aids, and sometimes he would turn them off in Manny Beard's room, just to give himself a break from Manny Beard's voice. That's playing with hacks, dude. Some days I wish I had robot ears. Today, Beetle was actually trying to pay attention to the lesson, so he knew what to help his kids with. But this was hard, even with the hearing aids, because there was a girl in the back of the room that was randomly standing up and singing and dancing, and other students were talking amongst themselves. Y'all recording TikToks in here? You go record that TikTok down at the principal's office. Get out of my room, I ain't got time. But Manny Beard, I guess he's a different sort. Of course, any decent teacher would stop teaching right about here and regain the class's attention. What I do is stop my class and stare at them. When they realize I'm staring and look at me, I say, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to be rude and interrupt your clearly important conversation. Let me know when you're done, and we can continue." Then they all get really, really quiet, and I smile at them. "Oh, good. I'm glad you're finished. Let's continue." And then I continue on with my lesson. But I am quite a sarcastic birch. It is better than throwing erasers and markers, which is what one of my teachers used to do. He had good aim too. Pow! Another way would be to be stern with them and demand attention. Go elementary on them and turn the lights off or clap, because of course high schoolers hate being treated like elementary kids, or any other numerous way to redirect attention back to the lesson. So, which one of these ways do you suppose Manny Beard used? None of them. That's right, none of them. No, Manny Beard would just keep on talking. He didn't raise his voice, he didn't stop the lesson, he didn't change where he was standing in the room to let the students know that he needed them to stop. Nothing at all. He just kept standing in front of the room talking as if nothing else around him was happening. It's like one of those ignored and it'll go away type of things. It never works. Beetle watched all of this unfold for some time. Finally, he couldn't take it anymore and he spoke up. "Hey, I can't hear Mr. Mannybeard, and if I can't hear him, then I know you can't hear him. And this is information, so you need to knock it off," Beetle said, talking over everyone. Everyone got quiet and Mannybeard just continued talking. Not even acknowledging Beetle. How is this even possible? I don't think I have that level of concentration. After Beetle finished his story, I replied, "Wow, so his classroom management style is like the meme of that dog sitting in the fire that says, 'This is fine.'" Beetle laughed. "Oh my god, yeah. That is the exact representative of his classroom management. He doesn't lose his stuff like Pitbeard, he just literally doesn't do anything at all." I don't even know how to unpack that. There's something deeply unsettling about it, but we'll put a pin in it for now, as we get more Mannybeard in the next story, which is titled The Continuing Adventures of Beetle and Mannybeard. I'm gonna wrap up today's tale with another Mannybeard story that was relayed to me by Beetle. I actually have the text messages that he sent me venting about it, so I'm using those to tell the story. It started with, "Love, I can't even explain the pain I just went through in text form." But he managed to find a way to relay these events nonetheless. Beetle was on his conference period, and he went to the workroom to use the loo and grab a piece of candy. Daria keeps a big candy dish stocked for us for those uber stress-filled days, which as a teacher is probably most days. Anyway, Beetle went to the side of the workroom where the candy was, and Mannybeard walked up to him.
"Hi, Beetle. That lesson didn't go well. It was like this lesson at my old school that didn't go well. You know, my old school had some really rough kids in it, and the principal there didn't always realize it, or it seemed like maybe he did, and then the kids would just do whatever they wanted, and the principal wouldn't do anything, and..."
Mannybeard did not take a breath. Exposition dump! That's Beetle started, but Mannybeard just kept on talking.
"He let the kids do whatever, and it was up to the teachers to handle it, and if we didn't, we were the ones that got in trouble, and these kids were rough, and..."
Oh my god, he just would not stop. Tell me more about the rough kids. Beetle had his candy, so he walked to the other side of the workroom. Mannybeard followed him and kept on talking.
"But today's lesson kind of reminded me of this one lesson that I did at my old school, and it didn't go well, like today's didn't go well, and..."
Beetle desperately wanted an out at this point. Who wouldn't? His phone blissfully chimed at that moment. That's a message from my doctor. I gotta go check that." He tried to go to his desk so he could check it on his laptop. Mannybeard was still talking and had now positioned himself between Beetle and the desk so that Beetle couldn't even get to his desk. If you're non-confrontational like Beetle, sometimes confrontation forces itself upon you. Mannybeard has sniffed out a weakness, and yes, continues.
I don't know what was wrong with the lesson today because we came up with it as a team, and so I wonder if Sonia and COVID Beard had a hard time with it too. You see, at my old school, there was this lesson I did, and...
Yeah, the really rough kids, I know. Beetle dodged around him and finally managed to sit down and log in to his laptop. Wow, I have so much work to do, Beetle said, trying to get Mannybeard to take a bloody hint. Not gonna happen.
Yeah, so anyway, this lesson wasn't implemented well.
Mannybeard continues. Beetle gives zero damns about any of this and really just wants to work. He started to say, yeah, repeatedly, like he does with his sped kids sometimes when they just keep talking. Yeah. Sometimes you maybe throw in a cool to mix it up or something. So Mannybeard continuing.
So I almost got in trouble with my principal, but it wasn't like the lesson I got on the internet. It was one that I made up from scratch.
He finished. As Beetle explained, the way he said that final sentence felt like a brag, and then he just walked away and finally shut the hell up. Beetle dropped his head on his desk and sighed. After he told me this story, I said, "Love, why didn't you just go into the loo?" "I was afraid he'd freaking follow me in there too," Beetle replied. That night, Beetle vented to me about it again. Evidently being followed like that was very unnerving for him. OP says, "Love, you said it yourself that you think he's autistic." I mean, that kind of fits in with the bus stop activities and waiting around till he's actually dismissed and stuff. I'd say that holds water. "Oh, Bro is definitely on the spectrum," Beetle confirmed. "I mean, I can't, diagnose him, but yeah." I nodded. Okay. And you think his lack of recognizing social norms is due to that? Beetle nodded. "Which is why all of English 1 goes out of their way to avoid him, if at all possible." Now I start feeling for Mannybeard a little bit. That's so sad. OP says, "Oh, okay, I get all that, but you're a sped teacher." "And your point?" Beetle asked. What if one of your students... No. What if we were in a professional setting and not getting the social norms? Would you want everyone to avoid her? Or would you want someone to step up and verbally explain where she's going wrong so she can actually be aware and learn? If the bloke's autistic, then he might not have ever had anyone tell him what societal norms are. He could be like we one. We had to sit her down and explain social norms before she knew what they were. She never really learned them through observation, I explained. Beetle glared at me. "You don't have to work with him. You get to sit in your little design cave." Whoa! A little bit of salt or something. "And I'm right," I said. Beetle sighed. "And you are right, and I hate you for it." Just a little bit. So Beetle did try to be more understanding with Mannybeard and tried to guide him, and of course, things only got worse. Some beards, they can't be saved until they make the decision to save themselves. It seems like Mannybeard's one of them's. But that, dear reader, is a story for another day. I have about 1 or 2 more chapters that I can get out of stories that are from this year before I am current, and then the installments will be spaced out a little further while I live life, aka collect more stories. Oh my god, this compilation's never gonna be finished. I hope you enjoyed this new format, and I hope you'll continue down this road of catharsis with me. Thank you, ReddX, as always. Got you, fam. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, and if you want to do the most, there's the Teespring and Patreon and Discord, or you could become a channel member. Hey, big brain time. Anyways, until the next time. This story made me kind of concerned to dump on Mannybeard, Maybe he really doesn't understand what's happening, but again, like I said, he doesn't really seem willing to help himself either, so I'm torn, deep down. He's been at this for long enough that probably he continues to make the same decision and wonder why the results aren't different. So how can I feel that bad? But I don't know. Part of me deep down does tend to identify a little bit. Let's see if we can't find something in part 14 that sways me one way or the other, and we'll get into that right now. School of Beards, Chapter 14. Is Miss Dean a beard? I mean, birds of a feather from what I've seen. I don't know. Hello again, ReddX and friends and trolls. There's a few. I put up that Chris Trucker poll of like, hey, if this gets 90% yes, I'll publish the emails. And the results were overwhelming, okay? 98% yes, but who's the 2%? What's this? Trolls. Emerald Oz here, coming to show you my Sidhi Uaim. Oh boy, I butchered that. I don't know what's going on there. Could look it up, but I won't. It translates to Fairy Cave. That's what I call my graphic design lab, where I can now mostly sit back and observe the beard tales without actually having to live them. The best way, exactly what I do, and I sign off on that, 100%. I hope you like the new format from the last story. It's certainly easier to write, and it's the best way to share these now that I stay mostly in my cave. Life in graphics design is mostly beautiful, and I am truly living my dream, but dreams are not without the occasional nightmare. And that, my friends, is why you are here. With that, submitted for the approval of ReddX Industries, I call this story Goodbye, Cali. Oh no! Was she going to California in her mind? Was it a Led Zeppelin song? I guess we'll find out. It seemed like this new school year was off to a great start. It turned out that that was only my interpretation of it, probably because I got to sit back in my little fairy cave and not interact with anyone but my students a good 85 to 90% of the time. I've said it before and I'll say it again, the students are not the problem with teaching. It's the adults. Yeah, who do you think the kids learned it from? I learned it from you, Dad! So while I was living my best Tinkerbell life in graphic design land, Cali was still in the thick of Beard Central USA. I wasn't in the English wing much anymore, by design. One day I realized though that I was seriously missing my bestie, so I decided to brave the potential of beards to go and see my friend. Cali was in English Beard's old room, which was very close to the start of the English wing. I thought maybe I could get over there without being stopped by a beard. No such luck. Hey, I know that, girl, a familiar voice said behind me. I sighed. Hi, English Beard. We miss you over here, Mandy. How are things in graphic design? He asked. Absolutely spectacular, I said. Good. I'm a little bummed out, he said. All right, non sequitur, but go off, I guess. Oh, why is that? OP asks. Well, when I saw my first sets of rosters, a wee one was on it. I thought I was gonna have her in my class again, and I was excited, but before school started, she was taken off. I wanted her as a student again. Inside, I smirked. Outside, I shrugged. Huh, weird. Well, they told us that schedules were in flux until the end of the first week of school. I'm gonna miss her, English Beard said. Bro, ew. I don't care, it's not gonna happen. Can we never talk about this again? OP nods. I'm sure she'll miss you, but she'll be just fine in Daria's class. Now I have to go see Cali, so see you around, English Beard. And I scurried off before he could stop me. I poked my head into Cali's room. Hey, I just wanted to see your new digs now that we're not, roomies anymore, I smiled. Mandy, it's like totally good to see you, Cali said, hugging me. I work right down the hall, but I might as well be on the other side of the world. I never see you anymore, I said. I know, I'm like so totally sorry. I meant to get down to your lab and like check it out or whatever, but I've just been like so totally busy. I'm just trying to like maintain my own classroom and like, you know, get into the groove. And I feel like I'm running all of English 2 again in the process. Oh, she said. I thought Gabby was the team leader, I said. Cali looked at me as if to say, really? I pursed my lips. Yeah, point taken. Well, you need some stress relief and I'm dying to show off my new house. Would you and your fiancé like to come over for dinner Saturday? I asked. Cali had gotten engaged over the summer, and she nodded. I think my fiancé is gonna be in like LA for business or whatever, but I would totally love to come. Perfect. I'll have Beetle fire up the Barbie and we will eat and vent, I smiled. What you throwing on that Barbie? Couple of shrimps, maybe? That sounds totally perfect, Cali nodded. That Saturday, Cali did come over, and while Beetle grilled, she and I sat in the living room, played with my pets, and chatted. So I'm guessing Gabby is running English 2 as well as she did English 1, I asked. Without Pitbeard egging her on, it's not as bad really, but I'm still totally doing most of the work, Cali said. What about Typical Beard? How's she doing? I asked. Cali shook her head. You do not want to know what the students are saying. Oh lord. What now? I asked. Well, she has totally no classroom management. She will just kick kids out of her room if they bother her and stuff. She doesn't want to work. She's basically totally doing what English Beard and COVID Beard did last year. She says she's on boards with the lessons and the meetings, and then when it comes time to teach, she just totally throws it all out and does her own thing, so our assignments and data aren't matching at all. It's just turning into a repeat of last year, Cali sighed. At least we're fully staffed this year, I said. Well, about that, she said, and I looked at her. What? I'm thinking of turning in my notice and totally leaving at the end of the semester, Cali said. No, Cali! I begged, then I paused and sighed. Are you sure? I mean, I do get it, Cali nodded. I thought if I got out of ESL that things would get totally better, but they totally aren't, and trying to take on all of English 2 again is making me sick and stuff. I'm having dizzy spells and migraines, and I'm totally always exhausted, and that's not even to speak of my mental health. I nodded. Well, if it's literally making you sick, then you have to. What are you gonna do? I'm hoping that we can head back to California soon. In the meantime, I'm just gonna substitute. My fiance told me I don't need to work, but I don't think I could just not do anything. Substitute teaching will give me something to do without having a class of my own, and I'll have time to totally plan the wedding, she said. I'm gonna miss you like crazy, but we'll just have to have more dinners together, I said. She nodded, naturally. And please don't tell anyone yet. I haven't told anyone on campus that I'm totally leaving. Of course, I nodded, and I did keep my word. Which meant the next week, when Becky came to me complaining about Cali leaving, I was surprised. I acted like I knew nothing about it, and then when I had a chance, I texted Cali. Turned in your notice? I texted. Yeah, but not staying until semester. Not my choice, she replied. What? I said. I'll tell you about it after school, okay? I'll totally give you a ride home, Cali said. I was obviously on pins and needles waiting to see her. After school, we met at her car. Okay, spill. Why wouldn't you stay until the end of the semester? I asked. Okay, so I turned in my notice and I told them I wanted to stay until winter break because I didn't want to totally cause unnecessary upheaval for the kids in the middle of the term, right? And then Gabby said they held an interview for my replacement, and the next day they totally hired him. They told me I'd been replaced and I could help out Becky in ESL until the semester if I wanted. I had no desire to be in ESL again, at all. I wanted to stay and have that time with my students, she explained. Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen bureaucracy work this fast. There's some real sus going on here. Wait, what? How did they find someone so fast in the teacher shortage? And why not have the newbie help in ESL until you leave instead of changing up the class mid-term? I don't get it. This makes no sense, I said. Cali had a look of rage. I think they had someone they wanted to get in somewhere. Evidently he's totally a youth minister at Miss Dean and Mr. Principal's church. What the? That is hinky as hell, I said. Miss Dean has like totally been a straight up biatch to me about all of this. Nothing I put into the program last year matters like at all. I don't like how this is all going down, but I told them I'm not doing ESL, so they told me they'd get a new guy through HR and just like notify me of when my last day is. Ugh, probably like next week sometime and that'll be it, she said. Miss Dean. And of course, Mr. Principal rolls over and does whatever she says. Wow, Cali, I'm so sorry that they're just discarding you after everything you did. You're an amazing teacher, and I'm really, really sorry that it had to end this way, I said. Like, me too. This is not how I wanted it to go, Cali said. It is complete crap, I agreed. And sure enough, the next week they told Cali that her last day was Friday. Her replacement was starting Thursday, and they wanted her to train him up before she left, which honestly almost broke her. And just like that, Cali was gone. Oh no, the three musketeers, OP, Beetle, and Cali, now they're down to 2? How can you fight off the beard hordes with only 2 musketeers? Now, Cali does sub, and even comes to sub at standard high, so I see her at work sometimes, but it really did make me sick to my stomach the way things went down. And this was the first time that Miss Dean showed her true colors, but not the last. As for Cali, well, she's happier now. She's planning her wedding, and Beetle and I plan to go to California in June to watch her get married. Beetle's never been to California, so we're very excited. It's overrated, honestly. Cali might not be a work friend anymore, but she's one of my best friends, and I do treasure the time I had with her as my ESL partner. Well, congratulations, Cali, and RIP. Honestly, it's not that bad of a tale. It didn't end how you wanted it to, but that's absolutely fine. Onwards and upwards, the best revenge is living a good life, so just do that. Into our second story, the Battle of the Lab. I'll let the title of this one speak for itself, and I will allow ReddX and my fellow ReddX Industries partners to tell me if Miss Dean qualifies as a beard after this tale. I mean, that would require extensive testing. I can't do it after just 2 tails. Okay, I'll do it. As I've mentioned before, state testing is the bane of my existence. Most teachers would agree with that. When I took graphic design, I thought my days of being bothered by this nuisance were over. And I was wrong. It was time for winter retests for all those sweet little angels that had previously failed said tests. Because of course you need to pass in order to graduate. On the first day back from Thanksgiving break, I made the mistake of opening my email at home while I was waiting for Beetle to get ready. What the hell? I cried. Beetle ran out of our room. What is it, love? I just got an email from the testing coordinator, TC from here on out. She's using my lab for testing. I'm losing a whole week of instruction, and one of those days is when I'm supposed to be evaluated, I yelled. Okay, calm down. Can we get to work first? He asked. I nodded, but as soon as we got to work, I practically flew to the culinary kitchen. The culinary teacher is my department head now. She's a lovely chef that hails from South Africa, and we will call her Cook. So I went in and I found Cook. Hey, have you checked your email this morning? I asked. No, why? What now? She asked. I guess now you guys get to admire my rarely used butchering of Afrikaans. I do listen to a lot of like the N-word Jack Sparrow, but I don't think it's gonna be enough to hold up this voice. But we're in it now. Oh, it's nothing, OP said. They just want to take my room for a week of testing and displace my classes. Jamasa post in a piece jar! Cook yelled, covering her mouth, realizing she was at work. Oh, sorry. I laughed. No, you're fine. That is the correct reaction. That was my reaction. How exactly do they expect you to take grades if your students don't even have their PC computers? She asked. That's what I'd like to know. Miss Dean wants a certain number of grades per report card, and I can't do that without my lab, I said. I'll have a chat with Miss Dean, Cook said in a tone that told me that she was about to go to war for me. And in that moment, I was happy that I didn't have to fight these battles anymore. One more thing I love about not being in ESL any longer. I'm not in charge of anything but my own classroom now. Later that day, I happened to be in the English workroom when I saw Miss Dean. Cook told me about your issue with us using your room. I don't know why this wasn't an issue with the last graphic design teacher, but I'll see what I can do. No promises, she said. I nodded. Okay, I appreciate it. I just want my students to be able to do their work and make sure that things stay equitable for everyone. Did I purposely drop education buzzwords to make a point? Yes, I did. A couple of days later, Miss Dean came into my room. Good news, I hope. Why do you need to be able to stay in here? She asked. I pointed at the computers. These computers have the capability to run Adobe software. The student laptops they use for the core classes do not. They can't animate on them. That's why we have the desktop computers. They have more power, and if I lose a week of instruction, the kids fall behind, and I can't take grades. Why can't the students use their laptops? Miss Dean asked, and I held in a sigh. Because their laptops are not intended for graphic-heavy work. How are you in charge of stuff if you don't understand anything? Good God. Those laptops are intended for word processing and Google Classroom. They run the Google Suite just fine. They do not run the Adobe Suite just fine. I'll see what I can do, she said as she left. What a mouth breather. You know anything about software, minimum specs, something like that? Obviously, laptop and desktop are different. That's why people work on a desktop instead of a laptop. I'm gonna get heated. Later that day, I was in the math workroom. That's the workroom closest to my classroom now, but math people scare me. I just wanted to use the loo, but this one math teacher stopped me. You still support ESL, right? She asked, and I nodded. Yeah, I do. After all, I hadn't been told otherwise still. As far as anyone on campus knew, I was still supporting Becky and ESL as needed. Okay, well, we never got ESL accommodations in the math department, she said. Oh, yeah, that's something that Becky should have done. This is a new system this year, so there might be a hiccup, but I'll absolutely look into that for you though, I said. Thanks, she said. So that afternoon, I went over to the English wing to try and find Becky. She said she had sent the accommodations, but would do so again. She also asked my advice on some students that she wasn't sure about how to support. I gave her my thoughts, and she seemed thankful to have my input on the matter, and I didn't think twice about it. The next day, Cook comes by my room and tells me that she's still fighting for me to keep that room. OP says, you know what? Don't. I've decided we should just back down. I don't like it, but it is a losing battle. Okay, well, if you want to use my culinary classroom for your class, you can. I know it's not a lab or something, but it's a nice space and I don't just let anyone use it. But I do trust you, she said. It's turning more into Russian now, it's fine. She was right. I knew she didn't let just anyone use the culinary classroom, and I was flattered. Oh, wow. Thank you. I'd love that. Not a problem. I got you, she smiled. I guess this was never an issue with the last graphic design teacher, so I'm maybe stirring stuff up, I sighed. Cook looked at me. What? Who told you that? Miss Dean, I replied, and Cook rolled her eyes. This was absolutely an issue last year, and the teacher fought it as well. And this brings us to the day that I realized that Miss Dean was not the person I thought she was. A teller of lies, a spinner of truths. I wonder if OP's gonna call her out on it, but probably not because she seems to play politics pretty good. So one day, Miss Dean came into OP's classroom. Mandy, I tried, but I just can't find another place for testing, she said. I nodded. It's fine. I decided I'm not gonna fight it. You'll be relocated to the cafeteria with a couple of other classes, she said. Oh, no, that won't be necessary. Cook was kind enough to offer the culinary dining room to me, I said. Oh, she did. And how is that better than the cafeteria? She asked. Well, for one, it's a proper classroom, and I can still at least teach in there, even if the students can't have computers. And for another, it will just be my class, not 3 classes. I can still conduct a class and not have the whole week just be a blow-off week, I said. Well, teachers need to understand that the space in this school belongs to all of us, and they can't pick and choose who uses it, Miss Dean said. I held my hands up. Look, I'm just taking Cook up on a very kind offer that is best for my students. Uh-oh, you're gonna get Miss Dean to go after Cook next. Also, you need to make sure your focus is on graphic design. You're not ESL anymore. If there are questions, you need to direct that to Becky or me, Miss Dean snapped. I blinked. Oh? Because last I knew, I was still supporting ESL until someone was hired to replace me. I was never told otherwise. You are graphic design. That is your lane, she said. Oh, okay. Sorry. I won't do that anymore, I said, as Miss Dean stormed out. Yeah, she's pretty insufferable, and she... I'm gonna give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe her favorite pet died during the summer, or something. I was, of course, very upset. She just snapped at me for doing what I was bloody told to do. I promptly went to the English workroom and cleared out the rest of my stuff and set up everything in my cave. This would be the only place that I would work from now on. A couple of days later, I got an email from Mr. Principal thanking me for my help in ESL and letting me know that now Becky had it covered. Oh, Mr. Principal, you're always about 5 steps behind, aren't you? He wants to take the pragmatic approach, but he doesn't have the foresight to do that, so he just stands back, waits for it to unfold, and then chooses sides. I got no respect for Mr. Principal anymore either. Continuing on, even after that, my direct boss, who is no longer Miss Dean since I'm not in English, told me after a meeting that I was only graphic design and animation. I didn't have to help with ESL anymore. So yeah, I got told 3 times. Yeah, did you get the email? You have to put a letter on your TPS reports. Unfortunately for them, during testing, in which I happily used the culinary dining room, I discovered an ESL issue that Becky didn't catch. I asked Cook if I should tell someone, and she said, no, they want you to stay out of ESL. There's no sense in getting in trouble for not listening, so they'll find it or they won't. And to be honest, I think she was right. It's a bit of a compliance issue, but not my circus, not my monkeys. I hate being that way, but what else can I do at this point? That is exactly what I'd do. Not my circus, not my monkeys is gonna be on my gravestone. Anyway, with these 2 tales, what can you say, ReddX Industries? Is Miss Dean a legbeard too, or something else entirely? I mean, I hate to slap a label on it. Oh, she's a Karen, she's a legbeard. What she is a politician, okay? It's a disgusting thing to be, but it's really what I've come to expect from, like, any form of administration. Anyways, with that, I leave you for now. Maybe we visit some more Manny Beard cringe next time, and you get to meet a Karen parent. Until then, subscribe, comment, like, ring that bell. Also support ReddX in all the other ways. He's always got them links in the description, unless you're like me and you watch ReddX on the telly. So show our boy some love either way. Until the next time. Well, thanks for doing the plugs. Now I feel like I don't gotta do the plugs. I basically said what I got to say about Miss Dean too, so that's it. We in the outro. Thanks to everybody. Join me in the Discord. Lots of links down there. Patreon, YouTube channel membership, Teesprings if you want to throw me some extra dosh and get something nice for yourself in return. Always remember, friends, that you are loved, you are worthy, you definitely deserve it, and I shall see you in the next one. So until then, bye-bye.